Hold your horses, even if you don't have any. Keep your hats on, even if, like me, your hat is already off. We've got some great news for you. Chris, new land!
New land!
New land!
Yep, we're very pleased about this. Green Britain Foundation has just purchased 40 acres of ancient semi-natural woodland.
Ancient semi-natural woodland, 40 acres.
The
Read it.
The great thing that came about because we happen to know the owner. We've been meeting with landholders around here. He really likes what we're doing in Balyers Wood and had this piece of woodland and offered it to Green Britain Foundation. And his reason for offering it was, I mean, okay, everybody sells things to make money. It wasn't about making money. He was just impressed with what we're doing and thought Green Britain Foundation is obviously a great organisation to be a steward for this piece of woodland.
And EcoTalk, your support is what's going to pay to manage that, which is equally important. Fantastic news.
We've got 40 acres of ancient semi-natural woodland, and it is almost next door to this wood here.
Yeah. So the plan is to join it up to this with a wildlife corridor, because isolated packets of land, you know, suffer from something that we call negative biogeography. They're little islands. So you can have a very beautiful piece of habitat here. It can be remarkable and absolutely stunning. And you've got another one all the way over here. And that lack of connectivity means that they're fragile. You get a fire here, that's just gone. And it's not going to be recolonised by this one. So what we've got to do is try and work with local people to join these places up, haven't we?
We've already started that process. I don't think I'd have been so enthusiastic about the wood if I couldn't see connectivity corridors. But in some places, they're very flimsy. It's just a hedge. In other places, there's a kind of arc that goes round that you can follow. But you can't assume that any animals, any fauna are going to use that as a corridor just because I can see it on the map.
Yeah.
So we're working with one landholder to the south of the wood, between us and the new wood, and we're going to approach all the other landholders just to see if we can improve that connectivity to the wood.
Yeah. And it is sometimes the case of simply having a hedgerow, because if you think about it, if you're a dormouse, imagine we had dormice, you know, then they don't move over the middle of fields. They're terrified of predators, understandably, so they will only move through a hedgerow. And even species like bats, there are species that bats, and due to the limitations of their echolocation, they don't fly over fields. They have to navigate alongside a recognisable, you know, structure in the environment, and therefore they fly around the countryside by flying round the hedgerows. So if you've got a hedgerow joining two pieces of woodlands where the bats are either looking for food or roosting, then they can get between the two. But as you say, it's not just about hedgerows, it's about building other habitats, and the butterflies and moths, and they've all got their own little peculiarities of how they move through the landscape. So joining it up is absolutely...
And even when we've got a hedge, it might be 1.5 meters wide. If we can work with the landholders and make that 3, 4, 5 meters wide and give it a tapered edge with scrub, you know, it's always very difficult when you have farmers, if they keep sheep, to actually say, I want to introduce scrub to your land. If you have the conversation and they want to come on board, you know, then we can do all the legwork, we can do the paperwork and do that. So then suddenly you've gone from Balyers Wood, Cortland Wood, which is the new wood, and some flimsy connection between the two, to more or less joining them up for relatively little money, disproportionate amount of effort. Because to do, you know, 200 metres of hedge and 2,000 metres of hedge is about the same amount of paperwork. But nevertheless, I mean, that's part of my job.
But what we're looking for is essentially ecological resilience. It's making our space here more robust. You know, we know that we're going to have droughts, we know that we're going to have floods, we know that potentially, you know, and horrifically, we might have fires. And then there's bound to be diseases that come through. We've seen ash dieback here and things like that. So in order to make the whole site more resilient, more durable, if you like, then joining it up is critically important, basically. But enough of the chat. What does this new wood look like? Looks quite interesting, got a little stream running through it. A few big oak trees at the top there. And a lot of this is smaller timber, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't really know the history of it. It is an ancient semi-natural woodland. There is a lot of, as we've seen up there, 150-year-old oak, 70-year-old oak. There's also a lot of stuff that's probably been coppiced, so it never grows that big. Very difficult to judge the age of it.
Yeah. And going through the course of the year, what are you imagining this is going to look like? I mean, there's not a lot of ground floor at the moment, but in spring, you never know. Could be.
It's a bluebell wood.
It is bluebells.
So come spring, there'll be bluebells. Apparently, it absolutely carpets the wood. We've got 150-year-old oaks. We've got 100-year-old oaks. I would say what's happened is this was possibly felled for timber in the First World War. It's also a coppice woodland, so I would guess we've got the older oaks that were left as standards. We've got the younger ones which will have been growing when the wood was felled, but not big enough for felling, and then all of the coppice wood in between. So we've got quite a varied age class structure.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of bare ground at the moment, but in spring it could be transformed.
It's a strange wood because we've had deer through it, or there have been deer through it, a long history of deer through it. Part of our job is going to be to try and unwind and decide where its future is going.
Yeah. It'd be nice to get some of this coppice back in action, wouldn't it?
Well, that's what we really want to do.
Yeah.
Is get the coppice back into rotation. Partly because that will partly pay for the woodland management, but also when you get coppice in rotation, you can have 1-year-old stools that have just got shoots on them, 5-year-old stools which are more like shrubs, and then you can have 15-year-old stools which are like very multi-stem trees. And just getting all of that variation in height actually means that you really increase the bird life and all of the subsequent biodiversity gains that come from that.
Yeah, because at the moment it looks like it's been managed just for access. They've cleared the trees from the side of the path, haven't they? But I didn't notice there's quite a lot of fallen dead timber in here, which is nice, and some standing dead timber as well, which is good. So it's not been, overworked, has it? Basically,
no. It's not been sanitised. It's not like a production forest. And thankfully it has been mainly managed for woodland, for access for the last few years, for recreation. So the concentration's been on the ride management. We do have a felling licence that comes with the wood, which is great because that cuts down a lot of paperwork, which means that we can get stuck in fairly quickly to other management, like reinstating the coppice regime.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this stream and thinking, if our beavers do really well, this could be beaver 2.
It would be very nice if it was beaver 2. The geography is such that should they escape, they wouldn't actually come here.
No, they'd be heading off down in that direction, wouldn't they?
They'd head off.
But it's still, nevertheless, it would be good. Plenty of food, nice little stream at this time of year.
If you imagine a fan, the stream that the beavers are on, this is on another branch of the fan that eventually goes into the Ouse.
Right.
So, should the beavers, if we had the opportunity to put beavers here, they would actually then spread all the way down the Ouse.